Good snap. Good hold. The kick on the way by Santos, and it is good! The Bears' losing streak comes to an end on the final play of the regular season. As Chicago
yo.
upsets the Packers.
The Bears won. The Bears won, Coach.
It's hard to believe.
The Bears won.
It is so hard to believe.
The Bears won.
The first time since what? October 13th, I think.
I don't know. Since they let Eberflus go, basically.
Yeah.
You weren't at this game, but I predicted last week.
Yeah.
That they were going to win. You were just for sure like, no, they're going to get their ass whooped. Stop doing this, Coach. Stop doing this. That's what your exact words.
Well,
stop doing this.
Yeah, it's true because I thought Green Bay was going to have all their starters out there and play the whole game. But I think like halfway through the game, they took some guys out like Jordan Love because he was getting a little bit banged up. Christian Watson actually ended up getting hurt. So
yeah, he did.
Matt LaFleur just pulled the plug because I think did Washington end up winning their game anyways?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so I think with Washington winning their game, Green Bay was stuck at 7 anyways because Washington won, so there was no point.
So are you saying that this was a win by default?
No, I wouldn't say that because you still got to go out there and win the game. You know what I mean? Regardless who's on the field, you still have to beat the team that's in front of you. And I mean, we know that.
So let me rephrase it. If the Packers had more to play for, do you think they win this game?
Maybe. I don't know. I thought the Bears defense really balled out this last Sunday. Just played a good complete game. The offense struggled until towards the end of the game again. Just had some heroics at the end. But I don't know. If they had their starters, would they win? Possibly. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell because of the game that was played. Because it's not like Green Bay just put out their whole second string. They were just missing a couple guys. And regardless, when Jordan Love and company was in the game, the Bears were up. What was it, 14-3? I believe it was. You know what I mean? Like going into halftime. So,
all right. Well, let's come back to that. Let's first get into these Week 18 results really fast. We'll circle back to this Bears because we still want to talk about that for a little bit more. Sure. But right off the top, any surprises from you this week?
I mean, a shootout between Carolina and Atlanta. Carolina won another game.
They did.
Which was crazy to see.
Bryce Young and Carolina has confirmed that Bryce Young is their quarterback for the future. They're standing behind him.
Yeah.
Fuck these organizations, man. They're so fucking fickle.
How about a shutout? Obviously, KC had their whole second string in, but 38-0. Denver going back to the playoffs
they
again.
They basically handed the Denver Broncos a playoff spot, which, by the way, strategically, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, that was smart because if they would have won that game, Cincinnati would have been in the playoffs. So who would you rather have in the playoffs? Bo Nix or Joe Burrow?
I think we all know what Patrick Mahomes wants.
And Patrick Mahomes would rather have Bo Nix in the playoffs before he would have Joe Burrow in the playoffs. So I'm not from a Kansas City perspective, they did the right thing. From a fan perspective, fuck Kansas City because I wanted Joe Burrow in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I don't get him this year. I get fucking Bo Nix, and we'll see what he does as a rookie. I mean, 2 rookie quarterbacks have led their teams to the playoffs this year.
It's going to be their third matchup this year already because they're divisional opponents.
Yeah.
So third matchup. I mean, both games were close.
Yeah.
So who knows what could happen? Obviously, the game is at Arrowhead. I don't know how weather conditions are going to be this weekend. I think there's another snowstorm coming through that Missouri area. So, I mean, there might be a little bit of a problem with the weather, but, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, there weren't any more. So, I mean, I guess the other surprise is Seattle beat Los Angeles.
Oh, that bottom one, man.
And, well, I'm not surprised by that, by Detroit
surprised by
winning.
The score.
Okay, I can say that because of the fact that Detroit has nobody on defense. But I told you, Sam Darnold, I'm not a believer. I don't believe in him.
Yeah, he looked very flustered.
He looked very Sam Darnold.
Yeah, he looked Sam Darnold-esque is what he was doing. But Yeah, Jameer. That game was just the Jahmyr Gibbs show, is what
It was, but I mean, at the end of the day, I just look at it like that didn't surprise me. Maybe the score we can say was a surprising. It was a surprising score. Maybe we thought that they would do more, but I just felt like Sam Darnold was going to Sam Darnold at some point. I said a few weeks ago that I wasn't a believer and that eventually he was going to show his true colors. And I'm hoping that he can bounce back from this because that game was kind of like a playoff game. It was playoff atmosphere. Obviously, they both were playing for the division title for NFC North. Whoever won that was going to be the number one seed in the NFC, and they were going to have home field advantage for the full entirety of the playoffs.
And have a bye.
Which the Detroit Lions desperately need because if they can get anybody back,
just anybody
back for their defense or just to recover a little bit, that would help them a lot. So I mean, I wasn't necessarily surprised that Detroit won. The score could be a little shocking, but other than that, I mean, Seattle beat Los Angeles, which I did not expect. I did pick Los Angeles for that game, so I was very kind of like, okay, Seattle is. They're the up and down team. You don't really know what you're gonna get. They could be the 6-3 Seattle team that played the Bears, or they can show up and be the team that beat the Rams 30-25. So you just never know.
They ended up going 10-7, tied with the Rams, but tiebreaker. Rams end up sneaking into the playoffs instead of Seattle. So Seattle getting that 18th pick in the draft. I also wanted to note one more thing about that Detroit game. I mean, if we're talking about, we're gonna be going into the Bears in just a second, which I'm excited for. But when we're talking about coaching search, we know the two guys that are on the list, Brian Flores and Ben Johnson. This was Ben Johnson versus Brian Flores. Ben Johnson put belt to ass to Brian Flores.
Yes. Yes, there are contributing factors to that, but I think if Minnesota would have been able to capitalize off of those 3 red zone opportunities that they had, this game and this conversation is a little bit different because I think that would have gave the defense momentum. The problem was that the offense couldn't help the defense stay off the field.
Yeah.
And when your defense is tired, when they're already playing against both the NFL rule book and also their own tiredness and fatigue, it makes it hard. I mean, defense right now is probably the hardest thing to play in the NFL. The rules are so fucking jaded and one-sided to the offense. So it's like the one thing to help your defense that they desperately need in order to be impactful in any kind of way is rest.
Yeah.
Some type of time to like kind of recover. And the Minnesota offense wasn't really giving them too much of that. So, I mean, I'm not saying that Ben Johnson didn't come in and do what he did, but there are, other factors that come into it. But,
yeah, of course.
Anything goes from week 18 that surprised? I mean, I don't think so. I mean, the Eagles beat the Giants. Who cares? Only thing I'm pissed off about is that fucking Philadelphia kept Saquon out that game, which I'm really pissed off. And you said that was going to happen when we talked about him potentially breaking the record. You did call that, and you said specifically that they would keep him out. And at the time, I was just like, that was, to me, that felt like bullshit. And I do still feel like that's bullshit. And I think that the NFL gods, however you look at it, the football guys will not be favorable to the Philadelphia Eagles for that shit.
Yeah, no doubt.
We'll get into that later, but they're gonna get screwed for doing shit like that because when you have opportunities for guys to make magic happen, break records, and do things like that, you don't do bullshit like this to keep them from it. At least give him one half. Do something. Show some type of love for the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just I think that was very despicable. And if I was the commissioner, I probably would have told the Eagles, no way in fucking hell are you going to sit Saquon Barkley for that game when he's this fucking close to being able to break a record.
Not only that, but, going against his former team. And the Giants,
I mean, come on, man. All the storylines.
He could have broke the record against the Giants at Philadelphia. And I know a lot of Philadelphia fans are on your side of this argument. I'm with you, too. Everybody wanted to see Saquon
even
break
probably
the record.
some New York fans who love Saquon were probably like, what the fuck, man? Yeah. This would have been one of the best storylines in NFL history for breaking a record. You beat it against your former team, especially coming off the season where they basically told you to basically hit the bricks, get the fuck out, hit the road. Like, there was so much poetry for that moment that it was just like, I fucking hate. Oh man, I fucking hate the Eagles for that shit, man. And Nick Sirianni. That shit just fucking ripped my heart out for like that week and for the Sunday games, just not being able to see that happen. And he's never gonna get a chance to do this again. He's not gonna rush for 2,000 yards again next season. It's not gonna happen.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's a down year next season because
Exactly.
of the
You
year
know
he
what I'm
had
saying?
this
That's
year.
just man, fuck.
Well, let's
Yeah.
let's get to a let's get to a
on to
positive note.
Let's get to the Bears game. Let's get back to it. Just talk about it really fast
Yeah,
again.
you know,
They won.
they sure
They
did.
beat Green Bay. They finished the season 5-12.
5-12.
I'm not. I mean, I can't sit here as a Bears fan and pretend like I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
Beating Green Bay is always like, yeah, we beat Green Bay. And that's always what we want to do. We want to beat Green Bay. That's like part of the season formula. Get to the playoffs, win the division, but most importantly, we gotta beat Green Bay. Right? So we ended up doing that. Obviously, this would have been a much better situation if beating Green Bay would have kept them out the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, that would have been a little bit more of a cherry on top for the season. Right? We didn't make the playoffs, but we found a way to keep Green Bay from making the playoffs. That would have been very, like poetic justice for the season. But I didn't walk away from this game feeling like, all right, 2025 is going to be charged up and we're going to be a whole different situation next season. Like, sure. I didn't walk away from that feeling like this. It's a good win. The guys finished the season in a high note, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not walking away from this feeling like 2025 is going to be the year for us now because 2024 was such a disappointment. I don't know about you. I don't know. How did you feel walking away from this situation?
So going into the game, and obviously with my prediction last week, I wanted us to just lose this game so we could have better draft position.
Right.
Obviously now after winning the game, we're 10th in the draft. Which lost.
Sucks.
We would have ended up 7th. Which I mean doesn't seem like a lot, but it is.
It is
a
a big deal,
especially when you're looking for one of those top offensive linemen.
And
the
offensive lineman you're looking for, I'm just gonna say his name, Will Campbell.
Yeah, and he's most definitely going to be off the board at that point. And when it comes to 10,
the Bears, just fucked it all up.
But I will say, there was a lot of like negativity going into this week, saying the same thing that I was saying. Which was that, we should just lose this game so we could get the 7th position in the draft.
Yes.
But at the same time, we know what this Green Bay game means to the city of Chicago.
I don't give a fuck.
But the city of Chicago does, and Bears fans do. This game means everything to people that actually go to the games and have to see Green Bay fans twice a year. That's what matters. When you go to Soldier Field and you walk through the tunnel, no matter who you're playing, there's always a Green Bay sucks chant every single game.
Did the Chicago Bears pay you to say that today? Because I need my guy back.
No.
You and I both know that the Bears had no business winning this game.
And I agree with you, and I wish we would have gotten the 7th pick, but just winning this game at Lambeau, Caleb being 1-0 in Lambeau, and us being able to compete and do the things we were able to do in this game made it worthwhile. At least the way we won was refreshing, because the last time we played Green Bay, lost by a blocked field goal. This time we win it by a field goal in the last second. So it was like, okay, cool. Did I really care much? No, because I wanted
and
the 7th pick.
And you don't think it was good for us?
No, neither that. But I'm content with it because at least we beat Green Bay for the first time in Matt LaFleur's coaching career in Green Bay.
He's lost to the Bears. I get it. I get it. Yes. I mean, maybe you set a precedent now. Maybe the tides are turning. Maybe you psychologically inflict like some psychological will on what's been the state of the Bears and Packers rivalry over the past 7 years or so. Basically since the Lovie Smith era was over with. We've been getting our ass handed to us by Green Bay. So yes, I guess psychologically you have maybe turned the tide on the warfare between the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears, but setting us up for success going into 2025, winning this game was absolutely the dumbest fucking thing that we could do.
I mean, I see what you mean.
Tyson Bagent should have started this game.
I see what you mean, but at the same time, I think it was also important that going into the offseason, you finish strong on a game like this.
Okay.
Because if you do come out and put up another shit show, or you just sit the starters, going into next year, you don't have much really to look forward to. I mean, you ended the year on a what? What did it end up being? It would have been a 10-game losing streak, right? Because we lost 12 games and we were 4-2. So we were on a 10-game win. We would have ended up on an 11-game losing streak.
Who cares?
But at least this way, you finish the year with a win against Green Bay at Lambeau. There's a little bit of, not momentum, but there's something, not a lot. There's something to look forward to next year.
We got a little bit of team morale going into next
There's
season.
some energy. Thomas Brown gets his first win as interim head coach, which is also nice to see. He's going to be I don't think he's going to end up being the Bears head coach. He's going to be a head coach somewhere one day, though.
You know what? I'm not used to you being the moral win guy. This is kind of really hurting me a little bit. You're not the moral win guy.
That's what universal basketball does to you.
All right. Well, moving on from the Chicago Bears and just enjoying what they've been doing. I guess at the end of the season, they get the win. Thomas Brown gets his first victory. We walk out of Lambeau Field with a victory. So I guess, whatever. I can't be super mad because it is beating Green Bay, but Lord, I really would have wished that we would have went into this looking at it from a more business perspective than just being competitive. But It is what it is. The Bears finished the season 5-12, and we are looking towards the 2025 season. But before we do that, me and Coach have been spending the entirety of this season going back and forth about the failures of this team, about what we have identified as the potential pitfalls, downfalls, and who's responsible for it. And we have officially decided that we're going to do this for the last time, and we're just going to lay it all out there from both of our sides. And when this is over with, we're going to leave it to the fans and those who are watching to let us know, essentially, which side they fall on this side of the argument. So we are introducing a new segment today called the Halftime Court, where me and Coach Conrad are going to pick two sides of the Chicago Bears thing. And this is going to be the case of Ryan Poles versus Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. I, myself, will be defending Ryan Poles and representing him. And my losing counterpart will be representing Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears.
More like I'll be the defendant, you're going to be the prosecutor is what I'm viewing this as.
I really feel like I'm defending because right now Ryan Poles is the one taking most of the heat.
You know what? Okay. I see what you're saying.
All right. So I'm going to go first. I'm going to go first in this argument since I am truly the defendant because I can't believe we're sitting here.
Already playing the victim card.
I mean, I'm just saying. All right. So I'm going to go right through this really fast. I'm going to try not to be too long-winded as I typically can be because I want to make sure we give space for this. But I just want to run through why I'm defending Ryan Poles. All right. So let's start right from the top. He comes in. He's the GM. He inherits this team. And on March 15, 2022, the first thing he does is trade Khalil Mack for a second-round pick. That second-round pick becomes Jaquan Brisker. And as we've seen Jaquan Brisker play, we like what he does. We like what he brings. He's an impact player. We just are concerned about his concussions and that being the thing that keeps him out the season. And if that continues to be the thing going forward, then that looks like a bad pick. But as of when he's playing, he looked like a complete stud. We move into April of 2022. The first draft for Ryan Poles. He drafts Braxton Jones in the 5th round. I'm just naming some noticeable guys. He drafts Doug Kramer as a center from the 6th round. He drafts an offensive guard, Jatira Carter, in the 7th round, along with Dominique Robinson in the 7th round. Now, 2022 is the first offseason for Ryan Poles, and these are some of the things that he does as well. He trades a 7th round pick for N'Keal Harry, a wide receiver, to try to help with the wide receiver core. In October of 2022, he traded Robert Quinn for a 4th round pick that eventually became Tyler Scott in 2023. November 1st, he traded Roquan, which I was vehemently against. But when you look at the understanding of taking some of your assets and trying to turn that into something else greater down the road when you are rebuilding this team, I guess you have to let Roquan go. So he lets Roquan go for a 2nd and 5th round pick, which eventually became Javon Dexter and Noah Sewell. But then also in that same week, he traded a 2nd round pick for Chase Claypool. And we all know how that turned out. So that's the first major blunder. All right, we can say that. And maybe if you don't like Tyler Scott, you can consider Tyler Scott a blunder at a pick. March 15th in 2023, his second year, we ended up trading the number 1 pick that we got that year. We traded it to Carolina for DJ Moore, a 2024 first round pick, a 2025 second round pick from Carolina, and a host of few other picks that we traded to the Eagles and Jaguars. In that draft of 2023, we ended up using that first round pick to get Darnell Wright, which people are saying is a good tackle. A good, decent right tackle, shows some promise. He's still young. He's going into his 3rd season, so there's promise there. Tyreek Stevenson. We like Tyreek Stevenson. Sometimes he just is a little bit of a head case, and that showed apparently this season against the Washington Commanders for the infamous Hail Mary play. Are we completely writing Tyreek Stevenson off? I don't believe so, but I do believe that there are some questionable things as to say about his character and his dedication to the details of the game, which could be a conversation about maybe him or just the culture of the Chicago Bears. But nevertheless, we're not frowning upon Tyreek Stevenson. The 4th round of that draft in 2023, we get Roschon Johnson. I don't believe there's anybody that believes Roschon Johnson is a bad running back, but we're at the point where we need to or either shit or get out the pot when it comes down to Roschon Johnson. We're either going to use him as a marquee running back or we have to let him go somewhere else, because at this point, he's in limbo as to whether or not he was a good draft pick. And then in the 5th round of the 2023 draft, we drafted Terrell Smith, who is just basically a backup nickel cornerback that comes in when somebody gets hurt, or if we go into a dime package, he can come out and help in those situations. Not a bad pick, but nothing really, I guess, great or anything like that. Following the 2023 draft, we get the 2024 draft. This is where we obviously get the 1st round pick, we get the 1st overall pick, and we have our own pick in the 9th spot. We draft Caleb Williams, 1st overall. We drafted Rome Odunze, wide receiver. 3rd round, we draft tackle Kieran Amagaje, 3rd round. 5th round, we drafted a punter, which some people would say is like, what the fuck? But that punter actually turned out to be really damn good. So I can't really be too mad. It's just maybe a question of 5th round for a punter. Are we really doing that? That's a questionable call, and I will agree to that. Defensive end, Austin Booker, 5th round. I like Austin Booker. I think he has promise. Is he a marquee defensive end? No, but he's definitely somebody that you can add into your defensive lineup for substitutions that can come in and make some plays. Now, here is where we get into the minutia of things with Ryan Poles in 2024 for the free agency, where we had $53.1 million in cap space. The first thing on his agenda was extending Jalen Johnson, which he did successfully because we did not want to let our all-pro quarterback go. He ended up signing safety Kevin Byard, who was, per Pro Football Focus, a good signing. He was ranked 14th as one of the best signings in the NFL for that 2024 free agency. Then we signed DeAndre Swift. We can argue that may have been a questionable signing with the likes of Saquon Barkley being out there, with the likes of Josh Jacobs being out there, with the likes of Austin Eckler being out there. But at the time, DeAndre Swift was not seen as a bad signing. We also signed tight end Gerald Everett to help out with the tight end situation. We got safety Jonathan Owens, who came from the Green Bay Packers, who played really well for the Green Bay Packers and served as a great nickel safety and cornerback for us that we could utilize when we played our nickel coverages. We also signed offensive lineman Matt Pryor. We signed center Coleman Shelton. And we also signed another offensive lineman in Jake Curhan. I do want to say, with that $53.1 million, with all of the signings that we made, we roughly left away with $11.7 million left over. So Ryan Poles didn't spend it all, but he definitely spent a significant amount of that money in cap space for the 2024 free agency class. Now, there are some noticeable players for the offensive line that potentially we could have got. But I do want to remind the audience that just because a player is free and in free agency, it is not a guarantee that they want to come to your organization. And I think a lot of times individuals and fans need to understand that just because a player is on the market, it is not a guarantee that that player wants to come to your organization. Case in point, 2 tackles that were rated top by Pro Football Focus was Trent Brown and Tyron Smith. Trent Brown decided to take a 1-year, $4.75 million deal to go to the Bengals to play with Joe Burrow. Tyron Smith from the Dallas Cowboys decided to leave the Dallas Cowboys for a 1-year, $20 million deal, $6.5 million guaranteed, to go to the New York Jets to protect Aaron Rodgers. So these are two top quarterbacks that two of the top tackles rated by Pro Football Focus and ESPN who decided to pass on coming to the Chicago Bears to go and protect quarterbacks that they felt like gave them a better chance to win. And Joe Burrow and Aaron Rodgers. Outside of that, the two running backs that were noticeable free agents, Saquon, who went to the Philadelphia Eagles, as we all know, signed a 3-year, $37.75 million deal, 26 guaranteed. And Josh Jacobs, who went to the Packers for 4 years, $48 million, which is drastically more than what we paid for DeAndre Swift, which I assume at that point, DeAndre was the cap on what we felt like a running back was deserving. And at the time, if we want to be honest, again with the fans, the running back position had been devalued so much that many people were even skeptical of the Bears spending that type of money on DeAndre Swift. So we want to keep that in mind. Now, people have been making claims about Ryan Poles, and this is where it gets really sticky for me and where it really hits home about how Ryan Poles really did not do a bad job. And people are really just overblowing the situation when it comes down to him directly. We take a look at the Bears depth chart in 2023. Our quarterback was Justin Fields. Our running back was Khalil Herbert. Our wide receiver core consisted of DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, and Chase Claypool. Our tight end was Cole Kmet. And our offensive line was sponsored by this: left tackle, Braxton Jones; left guard, Tevin Jenkins; center, Cody Whitehair; right guard, Nate Davis; right tackle, Darnell Wright. Now, if we look into their rankings in 2023 at Pro Football Focus, right? And let's just start off with the running back position, because I want to go through this succinctly. Khalil Herbert was ranked 15th at 77.9. In 2023, DeAndre Swift was ranked 45th at 66.7. So from the running back position, Ryan Poles failed. He actually went down. He went from Khalil Herbert to DeAndre Swift, and that was a failure, based upon the stats and the analytics of Pro Football Focus, which ranks all players in the NFL year by year. Wide receiver, I'll save him. Darnell Mooney, wide receiver, was ranked 107th in 2023 at 55.2. In 2024, Ryan Poles upgraded that, and Keenan Allen, who was ranked 11th in 2023 at 86.3. That was his overall grade by Pro Football Focus. Chase Claypool was replaced with Rome Odunze, as we can say is also an upgrade. Now, moving to the offensive line. In 2023, Braxton Jones was ranked 39th out of all tackles, 68.8 in 2023, protecting Justin Fields. In 2024, protecting Caleb Williams, he was ranked 20th with a Pro Football Focus score of 77.4. That's an upgrade and an improvement in Braxton Jones. In 2023, left guard Tevin Jenkins was ranked 13th. But in 2024, he fell off and he was ranked 18th at 75.4. Now, this is where we have our conversations about improvement. Cody Whitehair, who was our center behind Justin Fields, was ranked 119th with a Pro Football Focus score of 45. Coleman Shelton in 2023 was ranked 22nd of all centers at a Pro Football Focus score of 64.5. That's an improvement, a drastic improvement. 119th to 22nd out of all ranked centers. Right guard Nate Davis in 2023 was ranked 94th out of all guards. 52.9 was the score. Matt Pryor in 2023 was ranked 3rd amongst all right guards with a Pro Football Focus score of 88.5. That's a major improvement. Right tackle Darnell Wright in 2023 was ranked 68th with a Pro Football Focus score of 62.4. In 2024, he improved his rank so much that he went from 68th to 16th rated as a right tackle with a Pro Football Focus score of 79.3. So when people make the claim that the offensive line did not improve, they are drastically wrong. In the 2024 offseason, Ryan Poles went out and got the third ranked best guard from 2023, the 22nd ranked center from 2023, and he added that to an offensive line that saw improvements in both Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright at the tackle position. The only player from 2023 on the offensive line that did not improve was Tevin Jenkins, who fell 5 spots in his ranking. But let's look a little bit more into what is a little bit more dicey. And we'll circle back this in the closing arguments, but I just want to make sure that the fans understand this point too as well. DJ Moore in 2023 was ranked the 9th best wide receiver in the NFL with a score of 89.3. This season, he's ranked 37th with a Pro Football Focus score of 73.5. Cole Kmet in 2023 was ranked the 8th best tight end in the NFL with a Pro Football Focus score of 73.7. This season, he's ranked 31st with a Pro Football Focus score of 60.6. Now, included in these improvements was the removal of Luke Getsy, who everybody claimed was a dormant offensive coordinator and absolutely somebody we need to get rid of, and was replaced with Shane Waldron, who was the head honcho in reclaiming and redesigning and reimagining and revamping the Seattle Seahawks and the career of Geno Smith, which at the time of the signing between Luke Getsy and Shane Waldron was also seen as another improvement to the Chicago Bears. So when we look at the boxes for Ryan Poles and it comes down to what he did, he improved the wide receiver room, he improved the offensive line, and he improved the offensive coordinator position. Really, the only thing that he did bad was he did not improve the running back position. That was his major failure coming into the 2024 season. So by all means of what he did as a GM, he did, in fact, improve the offensive line. He did, in fact, improve the wide receiver core. And he did, in fact, improve the Chicago Bears as the GM. Now, as we all say, GM's GM, coaches coach, and players play. So at some point, the players got to prove themselves. The coaches have to prove themselves. Ryan Poles is not a player. Ryan Poles is not a coach. He's only responsible for roster construction. And based upon the analytics and the numbers that Pro Football Focus provides, which is sponsored by the NFL, Ryan Poles did a hell of a job in improving the offensive line, the wide receiver core, and setting the Bears up to have a much better season than they did in 2023. That is my opening segment for Ryan Poles. I will now hand it over to my counterpart.
Okay. Moving into my case, obviously me defending Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. I believe it's very important to start where everything started when Caleb was drafted, as far as why things happened the way they were this season. First things first, the coaching situation. I just want to get that graphic pulled up of what the coaching staff looked like at the beginning of the 2024-2025 season. All right, obviously not listed at the top. It's a little cut off, but that's okay. Head coach, Matt Eberflus. All right, special teams coordinator, Jason Hugh-Tailing. He's looked great this year, obviously with that return against Green Bay, doing great things. Offensive coordinator, Kerry Joseph. So, yeah, this is outdated a bit, but I just want to go over some notable names. I think there's this is completely different from what I sent. But our offensive coordinator was Shane Waldron. Defensive coordinator obviously was Eric Washington. I believe the running back coach was the same. Where is our offensive line
Offensive
coach?
passing game coordinator was Thomas Brown.
Yeah, so Thomas Brown. Our offensive line coach has been the same guy we've had for years on end. So, yeah, so this list isn't even accurate. I'm not too sure. But that's okay. I'll look it up in a second. But I think what is notable is when you actually look at the staff that was put together for this year, who actually is remaining on the roster, and how did they work together, and how did they actually conduct business and coach this year. I think it's important. So here, I've got the list in front of me. Thanks to Coach Malcolm. Chris Morgan was the offensive line coach. He's been the offensive line coach for years. Shane Waldron, obviously offensive coordinator. Thomas Brown, coordinator for the passing game. Kerry Joseph for the quarterbacks. So yeah, I think that's where I see what happened. So I think the names got cut off here, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
Mhm.
Running backs coach Chad Morton. He's been here for a while as well. And then Jennifer King on the assistant running back group as well. We've seen her in Hard Knocks and whatnot. She's a
Mhm.
great motivator and all the such. When you actually look at this group of coaches, do we see one person out of this group that we could wholeheartedly say after this season deserves another job elsewhere in a more promoted position? My answer is no. Besides maybe the case of Thomas Brown. Other than that, everybody else is a downgrade. Matt Eberflus, do we think he even deserves another head coaching job somewhere else? No. Can he be a defensive coordinator somewhere else? Absolutely. Shane Waldron, do we think somebody's going to give him an offensive coordinating job at another team? No. Could he be a passing game coordinator? Maybe. Eric Washington, do you think anybody's going to want him coordinating their defense and calling the shots on defense next year, considering how the Bears defense was playing since Matt Eberflus left? No. Could it be assistant defensive coordinator? Maybe. I think these lapses in the actual staff that was chosen to lead this new and improved group for this year was the absolute detriment of what actually went wrong. We look at this group of the staff, right? The staff of guys that were on from week one, training camp, OTAs, all that stuff. Not a lot of those guys are remaining anymore. Besides, obviously your safeties coaches, your offensive quality control, the guys you don't know. But the main guys, they're not there anymore. Next, the roster makeup. All right. We're going to talk about the offensive line probably quite a bit in this segment. And I believe it is so important to note how much the offensive line is actually getting paid and how much money we've put into our offensive line this season compared to the rest of the NFL. If we could get that next graphic pulled up for roster makeup, I think it's graphic 11. Oh, yeah, this is fine as well. So we just look at the left side here, right? You've got your left tackle, your left guard, and your center.
Mm-hmm.
Larry Borum, Karan, Matt Pryor, I don't even know who that is down there. Tevin Jenkins, Jake Curhan, Ryan Bates, Bill Murray, Coleman Shelton, Doug Kramer.
And right guard was Tevin Jenkins, and right tackle was Darnell Wright, and Braxton Jones was the actual starter this year for left tackle.
Right. He was the actual starter, correct.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's very important to note that when we're talking about investing in the trenches,
Mm-hmm.
protecting your rookie quarterback, because we've seen what's happened in the past. When you don't protect your offensive, your brand new rookie quarterback, you do not protect him, he starts putting his head down. He's too worried about the pass rush. He cannot actually look down the field because he's got somebody in his face the whole time. Or even if he doesn't, because he's been hit so much this year, he's automatically putting his eyes down because he doesn't want to get hit anymore. He wants to get out of there right away.
Right.
What Justin Fields was doing at the end of his tenure in Chicago. He wasn't even looking down the field that much anymore. He couldn't feel comfortable in the pocket. So his greatest upside was that he could get out of the pocket and create something. That's where he made most of his living in Chicago. Not 1 year did he pass over 3,000 yards.
Okay.
Next, our cap space situation. Right now, the Bears have, going into this offseason, $82.14 million in cap space for the 2025 offseason.
Yes.
Fifth most in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I believe at the start of last season, what was your number? I believe it was $50 million they spent last season.
Last season, it was the cap space was $53.1 million.
That we spent.
No, $53.1 million in cap space. We left away with 11.7, so we spent roughly like maybe 40-some million, 39-some million.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you look at that number there, the 82.14. That means you've got a lot of expiring contracts, right? Khalil Herbert's off the books. Keenan Allen is an expiring contract. You got a lot of guys. Kyler Gordon is also one of those guys. You got expiring contracts coming up. There's also a whole bunch of offensive linemen on the market, on this free agency market for this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
There must be something addressed and done with this offensive line this offseason. If there is not, Bears fans should riot. Because in my rebuttal to your statements in your opening segment, and then I'm free for you to rebuttal after we get off of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Your whole argument was dictated and prefaced off of PFF ratings, which for most is how they want to just look at positional players and whatnot, right? That's how the PFF does their grades. No doubt they do it for the whole NFL. They've been doing it for a while. It's accurate, is what they say.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me because Matt Pryor was ranked third in guards this season that he played like the third best guard in the league? Is that what you're really trying to argue? That Matt Pryor, because he was ranked third on PFF, is the third best guard in the league all of a sudden? The improvement from Nate Davis last year. He was 1-something, as you mentioned. The improvement to Matt Pryor to 3, is that even realistic? That he's the third best? Same thing with Coleman Shelton at 22.
Mm-hmm.
Are you legitimately telling me that he's the 22nd best center in the league? Braxton Jones. Same conversation for him. Now, I could understand the Tevin Jenkins and the Darnell Wright one, because I think Darnell Wright, even his PFF, I think he's ranked very high on PFF.
For this season, yes.
Yeah.
Last year he wasn't.
Yeah, that's what I mean. For this year.
Braxton Jones is not, he's not bad. He's only 4 spots below for the left tackle. Darnell Wright is ranked 16th, and Braxton Jones is ranked 20th for this season.
Right. And we truly believe that Braxton Jones is 20th in the league for his position. I don't. I have seen during the games why that isn't the case. Same thing goes for Matt Pryor. Same thing goes for Coleman Shelton. The one thing that your argument is lacking is the actual usage of game film. Because we have made the argument before where numbers don't do all the talking. You cannot just look at the stats and that be the story of how the game actually went. Because we say the same thing about Caleb. Well, he only balls in garbage time. Oh, wait, but he had 300-something yards and 3 touchdowns. Oh, but that all came in garbage time. You wouldn't know that unless you actually watched the game. Correct? Correct. This is why you cannot use only statistics to determine how players actually played throughout the whole course of the 60-minute football game every week. PFF only tells you how they did for their certain categories. Hurries, pancake blocks, whatnot, running game. The same case goes for DeAndre Swift. We saw how that offensive line was at the beginning of the year. There are so many different things that dictate a PFF grade. Same thing with quarterback passing rating.
Mm-hmm.
So many different things. Sacks will automatically bring down a quarterback's passer rating. Same thing with the running back. If he's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage, guess who PFF is affected? Not the offensive line. It's the running back.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So if we just look at simply the first 3 weeks of the Bears season, where DeAndre Swift couldn't rush for over 20 yards, are we saying because he was ranked 50th on PFF or even worse, and Khalil Herbert was 15th, that Khalil Herbert is a better running back than DeAndre Swift? That's the case I'm seeing you're trying to make, and I find it very troubling. Now, as far as Ryan Poles, because you are on the side of Ryan Poles, I believe position player-wise, he's done a good job at assembling the team. The cornerback position, the safety position, the wide receiver position, the running back position. I think he's done a great job. I think he's put good weapons and good positions where you need skill guys. But the trenches were forgotten about. And because of that, that's why he owns 2 of the longest losing streaks in franchise history. The Bears being a franchise for over 100-something years, should be 1,000 at this point because they've been around for forever since the NFL has been around, owns a 14-game losing streak between the 2022-2023 year, when we finally got that first win against the Commanders, was it, right? When Justin Fields balled out and DJ Moore. And then this season, the second longest losing streak in Bears history is this season with the 10-game losing streak with this so-called upgraded roster. If you are a GM and you hold 2 of the longest losing streaks in such a storied franchise, it is hard for you to make an argument to me saying that I should have trust in you to continue to build this team here on out. Granted, the 14-game losing streak was their rebuilding year. But if that's the case, why is the second biggest losing streak in franchise history the year where we're supposedly supposed to make a decent run in the playoffs? Something went wrong. And it's very clearly the roster makeup and the coaching staff. Chase Claypool, Nate Davis, Velus Jones, Ryan Bates. What do those 4 players have in common?
A lot of them didn't play.
Okay, what else? They were all acquired by Ryan Poles.
Who didn't play? Chase Claypool played a little bit, and then he was not on the field anymore. Nate Davis refused to play. Ryan Bates didn't really start that much. Velus Jones Jr. didn't impact the field as much. They turned him into a punt returner. And I forgot the other guy you named.
Yeah, it was those 4.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're not contributing factors to the Bears' losses.
Exactly.
Because they didn't participate in the faculty.
Exactly. And we're going to use Chase Claypool as the benchmarker for improvement.
I didn't use him as a benchmarker for improvement.
You did.
No, I said Rome Odunze.
Yeah, I know. But you said Chase Claypool to Rome Odunze. Of course, Rome Odunze is an improvement over Chase Claypool.
Right.
Of course. That's not even an argument. But you give up a second-round pick for Chase Claypool, as you mentioned. You sign Nate Davis to, I think it was the second highest contract on the team at that time for the offensive line position. You get Ryan Bates, who was supposed to be your starting center. Coleman Shelton wasn't even supposed to be the starter this year. It was supposed to be Ryan Bates. But motherfucker could not get off of IR for his life.
Okay.
And then Velus Jones was another 4th or 5th round acquisition during the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, I think it was a 3rd. I think he went in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to be this explosive weapon, all this stuff. Great.
I just want to know
wide receiver.
I just want to know when I get the rebuttal.
I know. I got you. I'm almost finishing. Those 4 guys were such misses and then you tack that on with the 2 longest losing streaks in franchise history, there is a lack of confidence within this group of GM to create what we're going to have next season.
Okay.
So my statement before I pass it back to you is I believe the use of PFF cannot be the most deciding factor when determining how the team actually did this year. Because I believe game film backs it all up, not just the PFF grades. I turn the floor to you.
So, again, I want to preface this by saying that Ryan Poles is the GM, coaches coach, and players play. He isn't on the field, so he isn't responsible for the way that players play. That's number one. Number two, Pro Football Focus is not just used by Ryan Poles. It's used by every ownership team and every GM group within the NFL to decide what players they should or should not add to their team as value or release from their team as being non-valuable. Based upon the analytics of the game and the things and the information that he had readily available to him, based upon those numbers, he improved the offensive line and he improved the wide receiver core. That's not a debate. That's factual. Now, their actual play is not up to him. He's not responsible for that. He's not responsible for Coleman Shelton blocking. He's not responsible for Matt Pryor's blocking. He's not responsible for Tevin Jenkins blocking or anybody on the lines blocking. He's not blocking. The only thing he can do is look at the information that he has, including film, including grades, including analytics, all of those things included, and decide what players to let go and what players to sign. And based upon the information that he had, he technically improved the roster. That's not a debate. Based upon the facts, based upon the numbers, based upon the analytics that everybody universally use. This is not an exclusive thing just to Ryan Poles that he magically came up with. It's everybody uses it. And based upon those numbers, he improved the roster. Now, we talk about the 2024 free agency. And again, the thing that you are omitting from all of this regarding spending money on the offensive line is that you're being a little disingenuous about the fact that guys have to want to come to Chicago. Just because they're free and just because they're able to be on the market, that doesn't mean they want to come play for the Chicago Bears.
Are we able to go back and forth?
Not
now,
yet, because we let the second rebuttal we'll be able to do that. Now, with that being said, if guys wanted to come here, I'm sure that Ryan Poles would have had a greater opportunity at being able to get guys. I'm sure he covered all the bases with being able to call around, call agents, and find out would a Saquon want to come? Would a Josh Jacobs want to come? Would a Trent Brown want to come? Would a Tyron Smith want to come? Would anybody else want to come to Chicago Bears? And maybe he got a lot of, no, we're good. No, we're all right. I don't want to come to Chicago. And it could have been for a multitude of reasons. It could have been because our quarterback position at the time was a little in questionable, or maybe people didn't believe in wanted to come to play with a rookie quarterback, or the fact that the Bears had came off a losing season, or the fact that the Bears are known as a poorly ran organization, or because the Bears play in the cold winter. We play in an outdoor situation. There's a lot of contributing factors as to why teams would not want to come play for the Chicago, why guys specifically would not want to come play for the Chicago Bears. And removing that as a factor is being disingenuous. I'm sure he tried to talk to as many people as possible, but it still doesn't change the fact, going back to the first point, that he did improve it based upon the analytics and the numbers and the facts of what these players were graded by. The system at hand that grades everybody, the players we like and the players we don't like. But he does not control their play. and you're trying to leverage their individual performance as a way to go against him. And that's not fair. That's actually not accurate. Because the quality of my players going out there and performing is not always indicative of that GM and them picking them, or even a coach and coaching them. It's not always an indicator of that. Sometimes some guys are just going out there not doing what they're supposed to do, and we know this as coaches. Not trying to throw us in here, but just for a second, we know that as coaches, that just because our players are performing poor is not always indicative of our ability to coach or scheme or come up with plays and draw things that make sense. So for Ryan Poles, he did improve everything except the running back position. That's the only thing he technically failed at improving. Now, continuing with that, you said the coaching staff. The only true questionable thing that needed to be improved was the offensive coordinator. Because at the time, people were comfortable with allowing Matt Eberflus to stay the head coach because of the way the defense finished the season. That is true. The way the defense finished the 2023 season, people were comfortable with bringing Matt Eberflus back. Were there some naysayers? Yes, there were some naysayers that said that Matt Eberflus should be let go as well, only because of the fact that it was understood that they were drafting Caleb Williams. So much of the dismay of not bringing back Matt Eberflus was centered around the fact that if you're bringing in a new quarterback, you should start all over again, overhaul everything, overhaul the coaching staff. So that way that quarterback starts off with a fresh new coach, a fresh new coaching staff centered around him. That was the real reason why most people were saying get rid of Eberflus. It's because if you're going to start over with a new quarterback, start over with a whole new coaching staff. But technically, at the end of that season, the way that the defense finished, there were people that were saying that Matt Eberflus with the defense was perfect. We just needed to find a guy other than Luke Getsy to manage our offensive coordinator position. And based upon the metrics, Shane Waldron was an upgrade. Now, we had the opportunity to get Cliff Kingsbury, I guess, but we don't know how those conversations went. It's all speculative for us. But we do know that we upgraded the offensive coordinator position. And we know this because Luke Getsy was fired 4 weeks into being the Raiders offensive coordinator. So we know that there was an improvement and an upgrade there. So in every aspect of it, Ryan Poles upgraded everything. But he can't be responsible for how coaches coach and how players play. He ain't playing and he ain't coaching. All he can do is go out there and improve and get the best available, with respect to who wants to actually come to the Chicago Bears. And that's the caveat that people need to get understood. I can only get the people that want to come here. I can only pick and choose from the best of the best that wants to come to the Chicago Bears. That's all I'm left to do as a GM. It's not about the pipe dreams and the dream reality of go get this guy, go get that guy, go get this guy, go get that guy. Of course, we would love to think this is Madden and we can just go grab everybody that we want and make this super team, but that's not the reality of how this works. I can only go and get the people that want to play for the Chicago Bears, that want to be around this organization. And based upon the people that want to be here, I am stuck to choosing the best of the best out of that pool of people that want to be a Chicago Bear. Simply put, that is all he can do. Now, if you're saying that maybe he should have overpaid here in free agency and overpaid there in free agency, sure, have at it if that's your argument. But then if those players don't work out, now we have players on overpaid contracts on bad contracts. And now we're upset about that. So at some point, we have to take the win with what it is. The people that wanted to be a part of the Chicago Bears, Ryan Poles picked the best of them. The individuals that wanted to come to Chicago, he got the best of what he could. The 3rd-ranked right guard in Matt Pryor, the 22nd-ranked center in Coleman Shelton, the improvement of Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright, the improvement of Rome Odunze from Chase Claypool, the improvement of Keenan Allen from Darnell Mooney. What more do you want him to do? based upon the individuals that want to be in Chicago. I don't know if Saquon wanted to come here. There's no information about him wanting to be a Chicago Bear. I don't know about Josh Jacobs. I don't know about Trent Brown. I don't know about Tyron Smith. I'm just naming all of the top positions from tackle to running back. Noticeable guys that could have potentially been here. But based upon the way things went, it didn't look like any of those guys wanted to be a Chicago Bear. So, you basically deconstructing and saying that he didn't create a good roster is false. It's an actual falsehood. He did put together a good roster. Based upon the numbers, based upon the analytics, and based upon who wanted to be a Chicago Bear and their availability on the market. When it came down to the coaching staff, he did improve the coaching staff. Shane Waldron was an upgrade from Luke Getsy. And Matt Eberflus had showed signs towards the end of 2023 that he was a good leader of the men that he had and that he had complete control of the defense, which was absolutely shown by the fact that the defense fell off a complete cliff in 2024 the moment that Matt Eberflus was fired and let go. Our defense went from being one of the best defenses to being considered one of the worst defenses as soon as he got fired. So his impact was greatly shown in that regard. So when you couple the fact that Matt Eberflus was a good defensive-minded head coach who has shown signs of being a good defensive-minded head coach, upgrading the offensive coordinator from Luke Getsy to Shane Waldron, the coaching staff was absolutely in a better position than it was in 2023. When you look at how the line was upgraded and the wide receiver core was upgraded, there was drastic improvements made to the offensive line and the improvement of the offense from what it was in 2023 to 2024. So Ryan Poles did his job. The question is, who didn't do their job? And we will get to that in the closing argument.
Yeah. You mentioned a couple of things that are still troubling to me. Again, using the PFF to solely rank actual player performance throughout the whole season is very troubling because PFF is accurate. But there's a problem with the actual mathematics that go into how PFF is done. If, let's just say, make it basic math, a player has a play that's -1 PFF point and then another -1 PFF point. That's 2 plays, -1 points. Could be for whatever. They have one play that's +2. It's a net 0. But clearly, the first set is more important than the second set because you had 2 sets of negative plays versus just 1 good play. Do you see where I'm going with this? PFF's mathematics are troubling when actually grading the offensive line. Because if they do have a good snap, right, if they have a good set of plays for whatever, that good performance, that good output for that one snap could outweigh their mistakes for the last 3. And we know in the game of football, every snap counts. You can't just have 1 good snap and 3 bad snaps. You got to flip that. It's got to be 3 good and 1 bad. That's what PFF lacks. And that's why it's troubling to me when you use PFF to dictate how the offensive line played. Because that is literally exhibit A of why PFF sometimes cannot be used completely or even for the most part to dictate how guys are really playing. Same thing goes for the quarterback position if we're going to go PFF. He makes a big play down the field. He might get +3 PFF points. If he's getting sacked, he'll get -1, -1, -1. Or not even sacked. If he's missing throws, -0.5, -0.5, -0.5. We know those missed throws are so important than hitting an occasional big throw down the field. It's almost as if the PFF ratings grade bigger plays more than consistent play.
And you think this because, and I'm trying to figure out how you come to this conclusion when the grade is based upon every snap of every game that they have played and been in possession of throughout the course of a season.
Yes, because
that's how
because
the grade
that,
is graded.
No, because the grade is graded on a game-to-game basis.
Yes.
And they take the average
And
of each game.
Yeah, and it's cumulative
Yes,
throughout the course of a season.
Correct. But that's what I'm saying. If he has a good play, he'll get +2. But if he has 2 bad plays, he'll get -2.
So
and
why
it's a net 0.
So why isn't that a correct grading? If he did 2 bad plays and had a good play, then
because literally the actual logical math of it, not just PFF math, the actual logical math, you had 2 bad plays and 1 good play. 2's greater than 1. Do you see the problem?
I see the problem. No, I don't see the problem, because the reality of it is if you're counting in a sense of, like, let's say that play for the offensive lineman, that tackle, he gave up -1 yards and he gave up another -1 yards. But then on the next play, he was able to produce a rush on his side of the ball for a 2-yard gain. That's just what it is in football. There are negative plays and there's positive plays. I can't help that in that one play, we were able to produce a 2-yard positive versus in the other 2 plays, it was 2 plays of 1 -yard play. I can't help that. But what I'm saying, the math maths out.
No, it does not, because when you're having an offensive lineman, you want him to consistently have good plays and limit his bad plays. So if you're just going off a PFF ranking, just because he's having more explosive plays doesn't mean he's being consistent. Do you see the problem? You need consistency on your offensive line.
So essentially, what are you trying to say?
I'm saying PFF doesn't account for consistency. I know it takes the average for the whole year, but because it takes the average for every week. It takes 17 games and averages it out.
But that's what an average is. An average is a cumulative of what you produce consistently.
The problem is how they attain that grade every game is the problem. It's not a grade that keeps improving from
Coach. But let's be honest. In football and in sports in general, you're going to have negative plays and positive plays. Nobody is always consistently just always being positive every single time. Everybody has negative and positive plays. So what do you want? You want them not to grade the negative plays? You only want them to grade the positive plays? How do you want this to be graded?
Fairly.
It is fair.
No, it's not.
Because that player has negative plays and that player has positive plays. So whatever positive they do versus whatever negative they do, we weight it out, and whatever the yield outcome is for that game, we do that for a stretch of 17 games, and that's how we get their grade.
Yeah, but
that's very simple.
The problem is it's not even from the negative side to the positive side, or even vice versa.
Okay.
Or even vice versa, right?
So what are you arguing? That Pro Football Focus and the grades that they have are not accurate depictions of players?
I'm not saying that. As I began this argument, this rebuttal, I said PFF is accurate. I said that for the most part.
So then why are you arguing against it?
Because you cannot just use PFF to dictate a player's consistency is the problem.
But you can use it.
Absolutely not.
But you can use it to depict somebody's value and whether or not they should be added to your roster.
So Matt Pryor being the third guard ranked PFF this season in the NFL. What does that mean to you?
It means that he's worth being. That was in 2023. What I'm saying is,
how many snaps did he play in 2023?
I mean, I don't have that particularly.
That's the problem, because he barely played in 2023.
No, he didn't. He played a cumulative over the grade of that. It had to be over at least 12 games in order for you to get your PFF ranking. In order for you to get your grade, you can't just play 2 games. It doesn't work like that. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is simply this. If we are saying that PFF is accurate as you claim, whether or not you believe it's grading consistency, it still at least gives you a value number on whether or not that individual should be added or not added to your roster.
Okay, but
can you agree to that?
Yes, but you're making the whole preface that is like the main decider in what is being accounted for when signing these guys. That's literally what you're saying.
I'm saying it's a contributing factor. It's a contributing
That is
factor.
not how you're presenting it at all.
I did.
No, because if you're going to say that the offensive line truly improved from last year
It
with
did.
Coleman Shelton as the center.
Based upon the metrics, it did.
Your only metric is PFF. That is your only metric.
Coach,
you don't have how many hurries they allowed, how many sacks. I want to see that.
That's the grade.
No, no.
Coach,
that is different.
Coach,
no, because
the overall. Listen,
No,
how do you think they
absolutely
get
not.
the grade? The grade, it contributes how many sacks they give up, how many pressures they give up, how many hurries they give up. That's how they get their grade. It's cumulative of all of those statistics.
No,
that's how you get the overall grade.
I want to know where a guy like Coleman Shelton ranks in the league for amount of pressures he allowed, for amount of sacks he allowed. Where he ranks for that.
So you just want that one stat, not a guy's overall ability to contribute to winning, but just one thing. It'll be like
both.
It'll be like
you want PFF. You don't even want to consider the pressure. No,
the
it's
PFF
not.
is the whole thing.
No,
that's the
no,
grade.
It's not.
Coach,
no, it's not.
I promise you, I can bring it up right now. That's the overall grade.
No,
it's how they do all factors.
I'm not saying
that's how they get the grade.
I'm telling you, you're listening to me at. You are translating what I am saying as if they don't account for sacks and pressures into the PFF grade. I understand that, but
so then what's the disagreement with the grade? Why do you just? So it'll be like asking me what is this player's free throw percentage, and then you saying that's the only thing I need to know. I just need to know their free throw percentage. I just need to know how they shoot from the 3-point line. Don't give me anything about their defensive rating. Don't give me anything about how they impact offensive rebounding or defensive rebounding. Don't give me anything about how they impact deflections. Don't give me anything else. What is their 3-point percentage? How many attempts do they shoot? So if that's what you're asking about Coleman Shelton or any of the offensive linemen, why even bother about any grading, any metric system? All you need to ask is how many sacks did they give up? Do their feet move well? Fuck that. I don't care. How many sacks did they give up? How many hurries did they give up?
But that is the argument you're using for using PFF as the overwhelming factor in selecting a guy.
PFF is a cumulative grade of everything that they do on the field, which includes sacks, hurries, pressures, all of that. It's a cumulative grade, coach. Cumulative. It includes everything you're asking about. So when you're looking at this player and you're looking at a metric that includes every single statistic of what you can ask about that guy based upon his position and what he's asked to do, the overall grade is really your answer. Based upon all of these contributing factors that include into this grade, this is his value. So his value was 22nd in the NFL. So Matt Pryor's value was 3rd in the NFL.
So my counter to that ranking system, we're going back to the two bad plays versus one good play. If Matt Pryor was involved on a run that bursted for 30 and he got +5, but he allowed 2 sacks that are worth -1.5 each,
I'm sure that's not how that is graded, coach, because we don't know exactly. But I'm sure just because you help with 30 yards, I'm sure giving up a sack is weighted more than you helping 30 yards. I'm sure giving up a sack is like a -5 or -7, -6. I don't know for sure exactly. But what I can tell you is this. Based upon how they accumulate all of this information from helping, positive, negative, from all across the board, from hurries, pressure, sacks, to net yield and positives, this is the cumulative grade that you get. We as the fans are not in film rooms breaking things down. So when having this debate, all we can do as fans is go off of the numbers that we are giving.
No, you could actually watch the game.
Coach, okay, coach.
Because that is the whole problem.
Did you watch every single snap of Coleman Shelton last year?
Of last year?
Did you watch every single snap of Matt Pryor last year in 2023? Did you watch every single...
We're talking about this year.
Okay, but you're missing my point. My point is Ryan Poles and his team of people from Ian Cunningham and his scouts, they came together with all the information that they had, and based upon the little information we have as fans, the little that we have, in the sake of debate and argument, all we can go on is the metrics that are given to us. And based upon the metrics that are given to us for the sake of this argument and for Ryan Poles, he improved the situation at hand. That's not a debate.
Wow, he really improved it.
Yes. Now, the players have to play, coach. Is Ryan Poles responsible for Cole? Answer this.
No.
Is Ryan Poles responsible for Matt Pryor not being able to not blocking? Is he responsible for it?
Ryan Poles is responsible for who he puts on the field to block for the Chicago Bears franchise.
Good. And he did. And you're right about that. But was that guy not ranked third?
That's the problem. You're making it seem like he's the third best guard in the fucking league because of his.
Because he's ranked it.
That's delusion. That is what delusion is.
So I'm not. Yeah. So I'm supposed to ignore what the analytics are saying about a player.
Do not ignore. You take it into consideration, but you're letting it tell the whole story.
So then, what's the greatest factor? You tell me what's the greatest factor.
It is a happy balance of game film, of pressures, and sacks allowed, and PFF rating.
And PFF is watching all of the games. It's taking into account every single snap. They ain't coming up with this shit out the fucking blue.
And then it's giving them a grade.
Yes. It's watching every game, coach.
So tell me then. Fuck the offensive line. Go to Caleb for a second. When Caleb had a high PFF grading in the games that we didn't do shit all game, but he bursted in the fourth quarter and we came back, you're telling me he played a good game? Because you said he had the best PFF for that week.
I'm saying he had a good individual performance. He had a good individual performance. That is factual. I can't take that away from him, that he had a good individual performance. But what I can say is that we still lost.
Exactly. So PFF does not determine the actual impact a player has throughout the whole game. No, it does not. Because just because Caleb balled for one quarter and went 10 for fucking 12 in the fourth, and then he went 5 for 15 for the rest of the game, and his PFF is high, you tell me he played amazing the whole game.
It tells you the impact of that individual player. When you sign a guy, you're signing the individual player.
No, you're not, because you're signing the guy that is going to become one with the units.
Okay, and you hope that by signing the third
can't hope in the NFL.
By signing the third best guard in the NFL, based upon the individual rankings and performance, you assume that he should be able to add value to your offensive line. When you go from having the 94th ranked guard to having the third ranked guard, you expect that should add value to your offensive line. When you go from having the 119th ranked center to having the 22nd ranked center, you expect to have added value to your offensive line. If I go from having the 16th best shooting guard to the 4th best shooting guard on my roster, I expect to have added value to my team. That is comprehensible. That is understandable. But what you fail to recognize is that I, as GM Ryan Poles, is not responsible for that player and how they play. I'm only responsible for adding value to the roster. That's my only responsibility.
What else is important? What else is important? The unit you put with that same guy and the coaching staff you put with the group of players.
And he upgraded the offensive coordinator. Was Shane Waldron not better than Luke Getsy?
Timeout. God, it's just become a shouting fest.
Because it's almost like you are just literally not comprehending.
I am.
No, because you're making an argument out of something that's baseless.
You're making an argument that Matt Pryor's the third best guard in the league because of his grade.
He was... Coach,
this is literally the argument you're making.
Let me ask you a question, Coach. If you have a 3.0 in school, is that not a 3.0 GPA? Is that not a B average?
No, that is complete. No. Stop that right now. So LeBron this year, let's just go basketball real quick. LeBron this year, where does he rank within small forwards in his fucking group?
I don't know. Probably fucking 10th.
Okay, and where do you think he grades within that guy? Like, where would you put him? Is he the second, third, fourth best small forward?
In the NBA right now?
Yeah.
Probably 7th.
Okay.
I'll give him 7th.
All right. Where do you think his ranking is?
7th.
Probably different. It's probably way different.
He's probably ranked 7th. If he's 7th, he's 7th.
No. That's just no.
What the fuck other rank could he be? If he's 7th, he's 7th.
No.
So he's ranked 7th, but in actuality, he's 192. What the fuck kind of shit is that?
Because that's what the fucking PFF does in the NFL, dude.
So then if that's the case, Patrick Mahomes is not QB1. He's not the best quarterback in the NFL. Based upon PFF, he would be. From last season, he would have been the top ranked quarterback. If that's the case, then it's not true.
Wait, okay, so hold on. That is my exact point. With Patrick Mahomes playing not as great this year.
I'm talking about last year. His PFF.
I'm talking about this year.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes, where do you rank a guy like that in the NFL quarterback? Regardless of how this season went, where is he?
Coach, I don't know.
That is the problem, is because we are not taking the true value of the player. We're just going to take it out of a situational and analytical context, because Patrick Mahomes played like the 26th best quarterback according to the PFF. So that's going to automatically make him 26th in value. This is your whole preface of your argument.
The preface of my argument is simply this.
That's how you're saying it.
No, I'm not. I'm saying you look at what's in front of you, right? You look at the metrics and the analytics you have in front of you, and based upon that, you have to make decisions. Also contributing to that, it's who wants to come to your fucking team.
See,
Patrick Mahomes is not coming to the Chicago Bears.
Okay, and I'm not. Well, I wanted to say that because you were mentioning my other rebuttal to what you were saying about the offensive linemen not wanting to come to Chicago. Where did you see any type of reporting, any type of anything during last season that said Chicago was pursuing one of those top guys? Because the matter of the fact is, when you got guys like Ian Rappaport reporting on these things, there's always a list. There's always a certain amount of teams that is noted in the posting. These teams are actively pursuing this player.
Let me ask you a question.
Where were the Bears in any of those teams?
Coach, do you not think that the Bears organization, if they could have got the best tackles and the best offensive linemen in the 2024 free agency class, that they would have not signed them? That's what you're trying to say. That if they could have not gotten the best, they wouldn't have gotten them.
They could have gotten them, but they didn't pursue hard enough.
Coach, they did not get them because those motherfuckers didn't want to come to the Chicago Bears.
How do you know that?
Because
you don't know that.
Coach, because if they could have, they would have signed them.
That's not true.
You think Ryan Poles is going to sit out here as the GM, see that there's the best available tackles possible, and he's going to say, nope, pass, nope, pass, nope, pass. That's what you think he's going to do. When you look at the Pro Football Focus grades and you see that he added who he could at the best of their position with the top of their ranks.
Yeah, instead of getting maybe one of the top centers in that free agency class, he instead got a Ryan Bates who played maybe a couple snaps this whole fucking year.
He got Coleman Shelton and Ryan Bates.
Yeah, Coleman Shelton was supposed to be the backup, first of all.
But you're still not understanding my point.
I'm talking about the actual value of these guys, not their PFF ratings. Listen, their PFF ratings do not dictate their actual true value. Because if that was the case, Coleman Shelton, ranked 22 in the league, should be getting paid the 22nd most salary for his position. Is that the case? No, it's not. Because teams use more than just the PFF. They barely use the PFF to determine who they're signing on their team.
What,
bro? Who is our most?
Time out. What is the number one ranked center making in the NFL?
I couldn't fucking tell you.
Exactly.
That's not my point.
Do you think the number one ranked center in the NFL is making $20 million? Is making $25 million a year?
I'm not saying that. But you take a look at how much.
He probably is making what the 22nd
Oh my God! Just fucking wait a second. Who is our highest paid offensive lineman at the moment? It's Darnell Wright. On a rookie contract.
Okay.
Is that not a problem?
I'm saying to you, Coach, if he could have gotten those guys that you wanted, if he could have got those guys, I'm sure he would have signed them. I don't think Ryan Poles is sitting around going, all of these good guys, I'm just going to pass on all of them. I'm going to pass on the best of the best of the best.
So you don't think he could have gotten Saquon?
No.
Oh, but that's not true because when Saquon was a free agent and talking to other teams, it was the fucking Eagles and Bears at the top of the list. You tell me he couldn't get Saquon?
No.
He could have.
No.
Absolutely
No.
he could have. And
No.
Saquon wanted to come to Chicago, by the way. He wanted to.
No.
And it's fucking, you could go look it up right now.
And Saquon wanted to come and play with who?
It don't matter with who.
Who did Saquon want to come and play with?
Yo,
no, you know who he wanted to play. You know who he wanted to come play with.
He was going to get paid.
It ain't about just the money. It's about who you play with. That's why he went to the Philadelphia Eagles, because they had Jalen Hurts. He wanted to play with Justin Fields.
Jalen Hurts. Wow.
You may have an opinion about Jalen Hurts, but he's gone to the Super Bowl and he's been winning in the playoffs.
So
regardless of what you feel about him personally, he's been winning and he's gone to the Super Bowl. Saquon Barkley wanted a chance to win a Super Bowl. He knew for a fact that he did not have a chance to do that with a fucking rookie quarterback.
So you're going to tell me, on the contrary to every single report that is actually on the internet, that Saquon did not want to come to Chicago?
No, I'm saying that he probably did, but when we decided to move on from Justin Fields, it pivoted to the Philadelphia Eagles.
No, because
and that's why he went there.
That's a completely different timeline. What are you talking about?
It's the same offseason, Coach.
It's a different timeline.
Coach, it's the same offseason.
No, I'm saying from when the reporting was put out that Saquon wanted to come to Chicago. It was 2024,
was it not?
Oh my fucking God, let me fucking talk for a second. You're not even listening to what I'm saying.
Because you're making no sense.
You're not listening.
Okay, go ahead. You got the floor.
The actual time when it was reported that Saquon wanted to come to Chicago, the QB situation was already what it was. It wasn't like Saquon said months in advance he wanted to come to Chicago. I'm saying when the reporting was made during the offseason and we were about to sign him, or the Eagles were about to sign him, it was Eagles and Chicago. At that time, we already knew who was quarterbacking this team.
False. The first report came out prior to the free agency class and prior to the draft. That was when the first reporting came out, because at the time, New York was considering trading Saquon Barkley in a sign-and trade. That was the first report. The second report came out when free agency hit.
And he was still very interested.
No, he was only interested in the Philadelphia Eagles at that point.
That's literally not true. That is literally not true. That's just you yapping out of your ass is what it fucking is. That's literally what it is.
And if it was the case that Saquon Barkley wanted to come to the Chicago Bears, obviously, whatever price point he was asking for at that time for the running back position, which I already prefaced in this conversation, the running back position had got devalued.
And how did that work out for us? That we didn't want to pay the guy.
Coach, I do not care. The running back position was already devalued. So based upon the information that we had already explored throughout the NFL season, the running back position was not something that they wanted to overpay for. Whether it was Saquon, whether it was anybody. And respect to it, I understand it to some capacity because you have more holes to fill. So you can't just give all your money to the running back position. So that's just what it is. But one guy at the running back position was not going to alter and change our franchise because we didn't have Jalen Hurts as our quarterback. We don't have Jordan Love as our quarterback. We had a rookie quarterback coming in because we decided to move on from Justin Fields. And this is where I get into my closing argument.
Go ahead. It's okay to smile, Coach. It's okay to smile.
Caleb Williams, pre-draft analysis. His positive was that he was said to have a great arm talent, rare ability to throw off platform, great accuracy at all three levels, all three, elite patience and vision, and above average processing. His only negatives was that he was short, aggressive to a fault sometimes because he went big game hunting, and that he needed a little bit of footwork development. Those were his only negatives. But then we get into the NFL.com breakdown. And this is what they say, which I think is what we should have paid attention to, but we didn't. Because once we got the number 1 overall pick, it was a lock guarantee that we had to draft Caleb Williams, and Ryan Poles' hands were tied. This is what NFL.com said when everybody else was overglazing and holding Caleb Williams nuts. This is what NFL.com said. Williams' play is highlighted by rare escapability paired with the talent to exploit defenses once the play breaks down. He's not tall, but he is well built with an arm to challenge defenses across the field. He can be a high-impact player on the go or an effective pocket passer when he allows himself to trust his eyes on second and third reads. He can improve his accuracy and placement on intermediate and deep throws, but he's unlikely to be known for pinpoint accuracy. I'm going to say that again. He can improve his accuracy and placement on intermediate and deep throws, but he's unlikely to be known for pinpoint accuracy. It is admirable that he looks to keep his eyes up and make throws outside the pocket, but he'll make things easier on himself early in his pro career by becoming a more decisive scrambler to move the sticks and carry on to the next set of downs. Williams is tremendously talented, but often bites off too much responsibility and plays off schedule. He has a good chance to hit new heights with the surrounding cast he trusts, but greater self-discipline and well-structured offense might be needed to help him become a quarterback who can elevate a franchise to championship contention. All of the fucking red flags were there. But Ryan Poles, who was forced politically and by this stupid ass Chicago Bears fan base because they wanted a shiny new fucking toy, because everybody always believes the grass is fucking greener on the other side, he was forced to get Caleb Williams, who had all of the signs of being the quarterback we saw this year. Missing intermediate passes, having terrible D-ball accuracy, having terrible pre-read snaps, not knowing when to get to the check down, not knowing how to have great pocket presence, allowing himself to get sacked over and over and over again because he didn't know how to get rid of the fucking football or get out the fucking pocket and move the sticks and just get out of bounds. All of those things set this season back. And the greatest contributing factor to how I know he was a deficiency is DJ Moore was ranked 9th last year with the worst quarterback, the worser quarterback in Justin Fields, and Cole Kmet was ranked 8th with the worser quarterback. But in the year we get Caleb Williams, DJ Moore fell to 37th and Cole Kmet fell to 31st. So the little bit of talent that we had last season with Justin Fields was able to have one of their better seasons. But as soon as we get the better quarterback who had a better offensive line around him, who had more weapons around him, he failed to even help the guys that did good last year have a similar season this year. And even Keenan Allen from 2023, based upon 2024, he fell off as well. So, while people are quick to say that Ryan did not improve the offensive line, per Pro Football Focus, which is the leading analytics for the NFL and player grades, he did. He also improved the skill positions, more so at the wide receiver position and tight end position, with the addition of Gerald Everett included. If we are to say that, then Poles did his jobs as the GM by giving Caleb and Eberflus the best opportunity to succeed. The real question is, why did Poles have to draft Caleb and could have been better off sticking with Fields like some said he should have, including the best quarterback in Bears franchise history up to this point statistically, Jay Cutler. Ryan Poles did his job. He improved the line. Statistically, analytically, and based upon the grading system that the NFL provides. He improved the wide receiver position. The only position he did not improve was the running back position. The quarterback that he drafted, that he was forced to draft, helped DJ Moore and Cole Kmet fall from their grace. They both had a worse season than they did the past season with Justin Fields, who was considered to be a worser quarterback, along with Keenan Allen, who also had a worse year than he did in 2023. So the real reality is Ryan Poles did not fail the Chicago Bears. Matt Eberflus and Caleb Williams failed the Chicago Bears this season. Caleb Williams did not live up to his hype, and Matt Eberflus was not able to make sure that the offensive side of the ball was working at the optimal level that it should. That is your fallacy. That is your flaw for the Chicago Bears season and why it went the way it went. Not Ryan Poles. He did everything he was supposed to do as the GM. Based upon the individuals that would have been willing to come to the Chicago Bears, I am adamantly and vehemently believing and knowing that had he had the ability to get the top of the top of the top of the top of the top for every single position, he would have got him if they wanted to come to the Chicago Bears. But based upon the individuals that were willing to come to the Chicago Bears, he did, in fact, get the best that he could. Based upon the analytics, based upon the grading, and based upon those who wanted to come. So the reality is, he did his job. Who didn't do their job? Eberflus. With making sure Shane Waldron and Caleb Williams got the offense together, he didn't handle his part of that bargain. The defense was okay with him under that watch, but we weren't worried about the defense. And Caleb Williams did not produce the way that he was supposed to be producing based upon ESPN, based upon Pro Football Network, based upon StatMuse, and all of these other places. The only place that was critical of him was NFL.com. Everybody else glazed and held his nuts. But the only place that didn't was NFL.com. And had Ryan Poles not been politically pushed to draft Caleb Williams at number 1, the Bears, I know for a fact, would have had a much better season with Justin Fields as the quarterback and the additions of weapons that Caleb had than Caleb Williams did with the Bears this season. I rest my case.
You can breathe. It's okay. It's okay. Breathe. It's fine. I think you are missing a very, very crucial part of how the staff and who puts the staff together. Ryan Poles is the sole man that pitches to the rest of the organization that we should keep Matt Eberflus as our head coach, that we should go get Shane Waldron, that we should do all of these things with our staff, and that this is going to put the Chicago Bears and our current roster in the best position to win. We saw the offense with Shane Waldron. He gets fired. We saw the actual head coaching ability of Matt Eberflus. Whether it was holding players accountable. Whether it was actually coaching the players hard. Whether it was making the right decision in a late game situation. Ryan Poles and the coaching staff failed this year's team. And I'm getting to why. If I told you at the beginning of the season that Mr. Williams was going to throw for 3,600 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, regardless of record, would you have been happy with how he had played?
No.
Why?
Because the wins matter more than his statistics.
No, I said regardless of wins. Regardless of wins.
No.
Why?
Because that ain't good enough in today's NFL.
So, but Justin Fields' last 3 years with Chicago, not being able to put up more than 3,000 passing yards was good enough in today's NFL?
Yeah, because you got to include the rushing yards that he had and the rushing touchdowns.
He is a quarterback.
You got to include his
his
overall impact, coach. It ain't just, we know what Justin Fields was.
Correct.
All of it included.
Correct.
All of it included.
But if he was so star-spangled bannered, maybe he'd be starting in Pittsburgh right now.
We know why he's not starting in Pittsburgh.
Oh, because Pittsburgh wants to keep their pick, and they don't, and because they actually have a good roster.
They do.
They have a good roster, and they're in a playoff spot. They're not going to play the better quarterback. No, that's not possible. They're sitting the better quarterback because they just want one round better in the draft. They're going to sit the better quarterback in their playoff run because they're going to get one pick better in the draft. You know how fucking preposterous that sounds?
Okay.
That sounds like that's like some Alex Jones conspiracy theory shit.
That's not an Alex Jones conspiracy.
That is literally like
we know why he sat, because they did not want to give up the 4th round pick. They wanted to make sure it stayed a 5th round pick. So if he plays any more snaps, they have to give up a 4th round pick.
So why when Russell Wilson was healthy and came in and played,
they kept winning.
So you think the integrity of Mike Tomlin would have allowed him to sit the better quarterback? Because we're both so high on Mike Tomlin, correct?
Okay. Let's.
I mean, come the fuck on. You think he would allow that in his own team? He's been with that organization for Lord knows how long. You think he would let that happen?
Even if Justin Fields is the better quarterback, but is he drastically better than Russell Wilson? No. He's not drastically better than Russell Wilson.
Okay,
it's not like you go off a cliff by putting Russell Wilson as your starting quarterback. That's not what I'm saying. It's not like Russell Wilson is like Tyson Badgett compared to Caleb Williams. This is not the situation in Pittsburgh.
But in the NFL, you do not sit the better quarterback. That's just not what happens.
You do if there's an importance to keep your 4th round pick, and you're not going to be negative. You're not going to be negatively impacted, coach.
You sit him if you're not having a good year.
You're not going to be negatively impacted by Russell Wilson being your quarterback. And simultaneously, you keep your 4th round pick. Why is that not a win-win situation for you?
If the Steelers truly believed that Justin Fields would make a bigger impact than Russell Wilson, he'd be playing right now. That is fact.
Coach, nobody said that Russell Wilson is this bad quarterback compared to Justin Fields. The point is, if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's a win-win. Whether I got Justin or Russell, we're going to win.
I'm not saying Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm saying Mike Tomlin. Okay, Mike Tomlin is the coach.
Mike Tomlin don't have the full say-so all the time.
You think he doesn't with who he puts on the field?
I think.
Come on, coach, man. You know better than that.
I do know better than that, but I also know that the Steelers organization is one of the marquee franchises. They have as much say-so around the NFL, not just in the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if they want to keep their 4th round pick and that's an organizational mandate, that's the mandate. And Mike Tomlin has to follow that too. He ain't above the ownership. He ain't above the GM. He ain't.
And nobody's saying that.
So what I'm saying is, if they want to
yelling again.
If they want to keep the 4th round pick, you think Mike Tomlin has the ability to disobey his ownership and GM?
I'm sorry, but
does he have the ability to do it? Just answer the question.
Mike,
answer the question, Coach. Can he do it?
I'm just saying, Mike Tomlin as a coach has more integrity than that.
I don't care about his integrity. I care about what's the mandate of the ownership. Can he disobey his ownership?
You don't know the fucking mandate of the ownership. There is
Coach,
no one report.
Coach,
has been. I'm sorry, but you are operating off of conspiracy and not fact.
Okay.
That is the problem.
Okay.
You are operating off of rumors, off of conspiracy, off of beliefs, rather than fact. This is the preface of your whole argument with the Justin Fields situation. I'm not going to get back to the offensive line because you are prefacing that on PFF.
Yes, according to recent reports, Justin Fields was likely benched by the Pittsburgh Steelers because of the conditions of the trade that brought him to the team, which included a conditional 6th round pick that could escalate to a 4th round pick if he played a significant percentage of offensive snaps, essentially meaning the Steelers could be trying to avoid giving up higher draft pick by limiting his playing time.
Was likely benched. There is no. I mean, come on. You're assuming. You are assuming.
Coach, he was 4-2 and then got benched. Why would he get benched?
And he did not play fucking phenomenal. I'll tell you that much.
But they were 4-2. Russell Wilson hasn't played phenomenal either.
Not because of Justin Fields. They have won games this year because of Russell Wilson. You cannot say the same about Justin Fields when they
did win games because of Justin Fields. His rushing touchdown, the use of his legs, he passed some touchdowns as well. It wasn't that he was just out there doing nothing. You act like he went out there and was throwing 56 yards per game.
I didn't say that.
Okay then. Then he was doing things to impact winning. That's why they went 4-2. If he was so bad, they wouldn't have went 4-2.
Oh my God, man. Yeah, the same way you argued that the Bears were the Bears were 4-2 with Caleb at quarterback, and you were still saying that Caleb ain't doing shit. It is literally if you're gonna say that, then apply it to Justin as well. If you're going to say that about Caleb, say it about Justin.
What was Caleb doing in those first 6 games? Outside, let's go to the stats, bro, because you really this is really
no, because you can't get over your fucking boy crush.
It ain't a boy crush, bro. It's just the actual. It's the
No,
actual,
nobody in the actual league would have chosen to pick Justin Fields, like for him to stay, seeing how Caleb played this year. Like if you were looking back on this last NFL season, nobody would have been like, oh, they should have kept Justin. Nobody.
Nobody. Oh my God. People said to keep Justin. They said give him weapons. It was players in the NFL. It was scouts in the NFL. It was GMs in the NFL. It was people on media pundits were saying.
Malcolm, I'm saying after this season. I'm not saying at the beginning of the season because that's what you're talking about.
Okay, at this point, it don't even matter because Caleb is there now. So it doesn't even matter to even have the conversation about Justin from their perspective, from a media perspective. It makes no sense.
So it doesn't matter
to them. It doesn't. It's not necessarily. Okay. It's not necessary for them to talk about. I'm a Bears fan, so it's something for me to talk about because I'm a Bears fan. It's not something for ESPN to discuss because they're not a fan of any one team. But I'm a fan of one team, and me as a fan of one team says if you would have gave Justin Fields those same weapons, we would have not went 5-12 this season. We wouldn't have. We wouldn't have lost the game to Anthony Richardson.
So if Justin Fields had 3 different offensive coordinators and 2 different head coaches, you think the same fucking disruptions would not have
first of all, Justin Fields had 2 different GMs. He had 2 different offensive coordinators, and he had 2 different head coaches.
Over a span of 3 years, not one rookie season.
So this is my point.
Oh my God.
First of all, Caleb Williams had 1 head coach missed and 1 offensive coordinator taken away. That's it. Eberflus was fired. Shane Waldron was fired. That's it.
But don't you understand how?
That's it. That's the only people that was fired. Why do people keep saying he had 3 different this and 3 different that?
Because it's the truth.
Only 2 people got fired.
Yeah, but do you not understand that even moving coaching staff within, like promoting staff within the original staff, like, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Promoting coaches within your original staff is always going to change something. Nothing is going to be the same. There's always going to be difference.
Oh, my God. These are the same people that's on the team. All they did was get a new title, coach. It ain't like they added.
That is not fucking true.
All they did was get a new title.
No.
Eric Washington did was...
So you're telling me Thomas Brown from being offensive pass game coordinator to head coach, there is completely no difference. That is literally what you're stating right now.
I'm saying...
No. Yeah, that's literally what you just said.
All that changed was his responsibilities, coach. He went from being the passing game coordinator to being responsible for the whole team. It's still the same Thomas Brown. That's all that changed.
His involvement changed.
Okay, coach.
His involvement changed.
You're right. Caleb Williams just experienced so much. It just all the cards were decked against him. The whole world was against him. He had no chance to succeed. The kid had nothing around him. He had no weapons. He just had nothing. The Ryan Poles was just absolutely just asinine in his ability to just put resources around the kid. Even when at the beginning of the season, the whole world said he was coming into a situation where the greatest number 1 prospect could ever come into. That's what the whole world said. But now because he failed, now all of a sudden he had nothing. He had absolutely nothing, coach. I'm not trying to hear this shit, man. Everybody said that he had the best opportunity to succeed as a number 1 pick in NFL fucking history. But because he failed to do his job, all of a sudden now it's every fucking excuse in the world except him.
He failed to do his job.
Yes, because he didn't live up to the fucking hype. And that's the fucking truth. Everybody just don't want to say it because they want to hold and coddle this fucking kid. Fuck him. He's a grown man. He's a grown man that needs to be a quarterback of the NFL.
It's okay.
He's a grown man that needs to be a quarterback in the NFL. He didn't. Oh, sorry.
You're good. Let it out.
Sorry.
You're good. Let it out.
He needs to do his job. That's it. That's simple. All he was asked to do was come in and be what he was said to be. Pinpoint accuracy. Understand pre-read snaps. Get the ball on all 3 levels the way that supposedly he was said to do. All of that was simple. He had every weapon around him. The offensive line got improved. We don't have to go back through it. You don't believe in Pro Football Focus? Fine. I don't care. All I know is that's the avenue that is used for every single team in the NFL. If you want to disregard it because it means nothing to you, so what? I don't care about that. Every other GM and every other executive in the NFL uses it. The scouting combine uses it. Everybody uses it. From the NFL analysts to people on TV, everybody uses this. But you, for some reason, just decide that it's nothing to be used for Ryan Poles because you just have this thing against Ryan Poles because you just want to protect Caleb Williams.
Because that's what I said. That's what I said. I don't want to use PFF. Okay.
Yeah. Because you just said it's not.
Anybody watching this could literally see how you just decepted that whole conversation we just had.
I didn't decept
that whole
anything,
halftime court. But you did, because you literally just put words into my mouth that were never said, and literally just completely changed like the whole meaning of my argument. That's not fair to say.
Okay.
Because realistically, why are we even having this debate if at the end of the day you're still going to say fuck Caleb? Because you're not even trying to be objective.
I am being objective, but you're forcing me to say fuck Caleb because what you're doing.
Not, though.
Yes,
you are.
No, because what you're trying.
I didn't even give you any. I didn't even give you like any concerning facts. No, because or, like any concerning stats that are like so prefaced, like so.
Because what you're trying to interject is this idea that Ryan Poles did nothing. Coach.
No, I didn't even say that. I said he literally put together such a great skill. I said that.
But he did with the offensive line as well, and you keep trying to say that he didn't improve the offensive line.
Because I don't think he did a good enough job at improving the offensive line. Because look, because he made even if he improved the offensive line, is it that much better than last year?
Yes.
Because last year
these guys were ranked less than 50th. All of them. He got guys that were above the 50th mark. What? Like, I don't know, Coach.
You said all these guys, and you named 2 out of the 3.
Because those were the 2 that changed the most. Matt Pryor and Coleman Shelton. Those are the 2 additions. Everybody else stayed the same. Tevin Jenkins stayed the same.
Yeah,
Braxton Jones stayed the same, and Darnell Wright stayed the same. Coach, that's why the improvements were made. The 2 guys that were removed. The other 2 wasn't. All I'm saying is this: at the end of the day, if you wanted him to make all these changes to the offensive line, it requires a lot of things. It requires not getting Rome Odunze. Do you not want Rome Odunze? And he could have got Fashanu or any other tackle that was in the 2024 draft. Maybe some Bears fans will say, yeah, fuck Rome Odunze, don't get him. I don't know. But at the end of the day, we got him and people like him. If it was tackles that wanted to come to the Chicago Bears, I do believe that Ryan Poles would have paid for him. But guess what? They went to Cincinnati to play for Joe Burrow. That was the number 1 guy. The number 2 guy went to the New York Jets to play with Aaron Rodgers. Both quarterbacks that have already been proven. All I'm saying is you got to give grace on the fact that maybe guys didn't want to come to Chicago. And I don't know what it is with Bears fans who think that everybody wants to play in Chicago. They don't. And so based upon what he had available to him, he got the best of the best that he could get. It was up to Caleb and Matt Eberflus to make the best of what they had. Caleb did not perform well. Matt Eberflus did not perform well as a head coach with getting the offense under control. That was his job. That was Caleb's job to perform. Both of them failed. But somehow we're turning this around on Ryan Poles like he did absolutely nothing. And that is false. That is false. That is vehemently false. That is adamantly false. And people are just trying to concoct this narrative because they don't want to blame Caleb. So now Ryan Poles has to get fired.
Nobody is saying that Ryan Poles did nothing. This is you summarizing in your own words again the things that I said when if we really listened
so he did skill positions in the offensive line, he did shit.
I didn't say he didn't do shit. I literally just said, as you went on your rant again, I said he didn't improve the offensive line enough.
Coach.
Enough. Coach. That is the problem.
Okay, so who was he supposed to get? Just tell me who he was supposed to get.
I couldn't tell you names. I don't have that in front of me.
So what was he supposed to do with the offensive line, Coach? He signed who he could sign.
No, I don't believe so. I think he could have done better.
Why do you think that?
Because I think he could have pursued more than he did. I think if he truly listen, just listen for a second. I think if he actually pursued as hard as you say that he did, I think there would have been many, many reports about it on how Chicago is desperate for an offensive lineman. I don't remember not one story coming out this last offseason saying that the Chicago Bears and Ryan Poles are desperately looking for their new offensive lineman, because that was not the case. Our best offensive lineman, technically grade-wise and actually experience-wise, that we signed this last offseason was Ryan Bates, who did not see the field for more than 2 games.
Our best offensive lineman that we signed was Matt Pryor.
Matt Pryor was already on the team.
No, he wasn't. He was signed in
He was
2024.
already on the team.
He was signed in 2024.
He was already on the team this season. He was. You literally said he was on the team last year.
No, I said his grade from last year was in 20. He wasn't on our team.
Oh
He
my
was the
God.
upgrade. Matt Pryor was the upgrade. That's what I said. He was upgraded from Nate Davis. Nate Davis was on the team.
No, because Nate Davis was still on the team this year.
That's my point, Coach. Nate Davis.
Your timeline is completely off with a lot of these
no,
things.
it's not. Nate Davis was a starter last year in 2023. We signed Matt Pryor this season in 2024.
To be depth. And
no, to be the starting guard.
That's literally not true. I mean, if you watch Bears football, that's not true. Nate Davis started the year. Do you not remember that? He started and got cooked against Tennessee and then sat.
Okay, fine.
And then
Matt Pryor took over.
Yeah, but it's not like he was the guy that we signed to be our starter. Okay. This is where your whole narrative comes like completely.
Okay. So
come the fuck on.
So he just signed. Okay, so he signed him for depth. Cool.
He did.
Okay, fine.
He did a good job at signing depth. He didn't do a good job at signing actual bona fide starters in the league, because right. Matt Pryor before this was on the Philadelphia Eagles. And he was depth. He never had a starting role. Same thing with Coleman Shelton. I believe he came from the Rams. He also never had a starting role. He was the backup center in LA and had a couple snaps as a lefty center. Okay. Ryan Bates was the only guy that actually started for a franchise, and that was the Buffalo Bills. People were actually happy when we got him, and I thought it was a good move. And then he just didn't play the whole year. Which, again, goes back to the whole thing you mentioned about Jaquan Brisker. You're getting these guys, but they cannot stay on the field. So regardless, that's still going to be a minus on your resume as a GM, because you have to get guys that could stay on the field. We say the same thing about the Chicago Bulls. They got guys that could play, but the whole point of your job as GM, you need to put a team out there that is going to consistently play good together and consistently play together, that could actually be on the field together.
And Ryan Poles is responsible for...
I'm not saying he's responsible for injuries, but you could...
But that's what you're doing. You're saying that. You're literally saying that.
I did not say that.
So why are you bringing it up? Why are you bringing up their injuries? Why are you bringing up their play? He's not responsible for any of that.
But he's responsible for who he puts on the field and who he puts in the organization of the Chicago Bears.
Yes, Coach, he is. But if they get hurt, he's not responsible for that.
Listen, that's like signing Derrick Rose after his ACL injuries and expecting him not to have any problems there forward. Same thing with Lonzo Ball. You signed
Jaquan Brisker was not signed with that. He wasn't signed injury prone.
He was drafted. I'm not saying that, but regardless, he's having problems with his concussions. He's having really bad problems. He got hurt in like week 4 and missed the rest of the season.
Okay.
That's very concerning.
All right.
And I'm not saying Jaquan Brisker was a miss, because I absolutely like him, but it's starting to get concerning that he cannot stay on the field. Again, you signed Ryan Bates to be your starting center, and he did not see the field. He saw it for a couple snaps in week 1 and then got hurt and then came back towards the tail end of the season.
Either way, Coleman Shelton
got hurt again.
Either way, Coleman Shelton or Ryan Bates was an improvement from Cody Whitehair, regardless of how you want to look at it.
Grade wise, but again, actual player, Coleman Shelton's better than Cody Whitehair is better than Coleman Shelton, and anybody in the league will tell you that.
Here we go.
Again, when James Daniels left to go to Pittsburgh, he's playing great in Pittsburgh now, and he was good in Chicago. Yeah. But no, we went and got rid of him, got Nate Davis, and then Nate Davis shat the bed. That's also on Ryan Poles, by the way. You forgot to mention that.
That is on Ryan Poles. I said Nate Davis was a failure in 2023, but he improved that by getting Matt Pryor. So, anyway, let's move on to the Week 18. Let's move on to our projections for the wild card round and the NFL playoffs. Let's do the projections for the actual full playoffs. Can we get the full playoff bracket?
I believe it's the next one.
I think it's the last graphic that we have. Like graphic 18 or something. 19 or something. All right, so I want to give my early predictions because we're going to do all the way through.
Yeah.
I got the Eagles losing to Green Bay because I want the football guys to smite them for what they did to Saquon Barkley.
Okay.
And I have the Washington Commanders beating the Buccaneers in the NFC. And I got the Los Angeles Rams beating the Vikings in the division wild card round because I'm not a believer in Sam Darnold. So that ends up with Green Bay versus Washington, Detroit versus Los Angeles. From that point in the divisional round in the NFC, I got Washington beating Green Bay, and I got Detroit beating Minnesota, which leads to the NFC Championship of Washington versus Detroit, and I have Detroit beating Washington to get to the Super Bowl. In the AFC, I have Buffalo beating Denver, and I got Baltimore beating the Steelers, and I have the Chargers beating the Houston Texans. In the divisional round, I have Baltimore beating Buffalo, and I have the Chargers losing to Kansas City. In the AFC Championship, I have Baltimore beating Kansas City, and so you end up with a Super Bowl of Baltimore versus Detroit.
Okay. What do you got winning that?
Baltimore. Lamar Jackson wins his first Super Bowl this season in New Orleans.
All right. Real quick for me, I've got Minnesota beating LA. I think Minnesota's too good of a team. Kevin O'Connell's a really good coach. I think they'll figure out their struggles from last week. I also have Washington beating Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay barely snuck into this playoff just because they were a divisional leader. I got Philly beating Green Bay. I think they're going to want to put some end to what happened in that Brazil game at the beginning of the season. I think Philly believes Green Bay shouldn't even have been close in that game. I think they're going to prove that at home in Philly, which goes into the next round. You've got a divisional matchup with Washington and Philly. Give me Philly in that game. I think they have Jaden Daniels' number. And then you got another divisional matchup of Detroit and Minnesota. Again, I think Detroit's got Minnesota's number. So then in the championship game, we've got Philly and Detroit. Gonna be a real good game. I also have Detroit making the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Over to the AFC, I've got the Chargers beating the Texans as well. I've got Baltimore beating the Steelers, and then I also have the Bills beating Denver. Moving on to the next round in the divisional, Kansas City, I think, puts about to ass to the Chargers. I also have the Ravens beating the Bills. I just think the Ravens are too good for that Bills defense. And then that leaves us with Kansas City versus Baltimore in the AFC. I still got Kansas City going, unfortunately. And then we got KC versus Detroit, which should have been the Super Bowl last year, in my opinion, but we'll have it this year. And Patrick Mahomes gets his
third Super Bowl.
He
gets his three-peat.
He gets his three-peats. That is my prediction for this NFL playoff.
All right.
I mean, we're not too far off from one another.
No, we got similar things. It's just that how we got there is just we got certain people losing in the first round that's a little bit different. But I want to thank you all for tuning in and watching another episode of the Halftime Podcast. This episode was definitely one that was built with emotion. We've been kind of just building up to this episode all season. We kind of just needed to go ahead and just finally have that conversation, get that over with. I don't think from this point on we're gonna have too much of the energy to talk about this. I think for the most part, the next thing we'll probably be discussing is who will be the head coach for the Chicago Bears.
And I think for the best of the show, we let this episode be the finale of this whole argument from all season.
Yeah,
so
as
we go into the playoffs.
I think we're done. I think we got it all out.
I think so as well.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for watching another episode of the Halftime Podcast. It's been Coach Malcolm.
It's Coach Conrad.
And as always, see Red Bear down, baby.